Hi, my name is Olajide Olagunju, and I'm the author of the book, How to Resolve a Conflict, which I would like to share with you on this screen now. Yeah, so that's the book, How to Resolve a Conflict, and it's the textbook for the lectures you just joined, the lecture series titled How to Resolve a Conflict, the same title as the book I'm sharing with you. This is How to Resolve a Conflict, lecture 40. So that means we've done 1 to 39, and we're now in lecture 40. I do hope you enjoy this lecture and the lecture series generally. I invite you to please subscribe before you go on. Subscribe to this channel before you go on with watching the lecture. In the last lecture, we began discussion on the person of the mediator. I read from the textbook and I had a discussion with you. Today, we're going to continue discussing the person of the mediator. And I think it's important to focus on the mediator because the mediator is the chairman or chair lady or chairperson in quote of the conflict resolution process. And so the character and the person and the personality of the mediator is very important for people who want to do good conflict resolution, good mediation, to know what it entails to be a mediator. So I'll go back and continue reading from the book, the reading I did last time and I had discussion on. This is page 41 of the book. A mediator's distinguishing feature is neutrality. A judge or an arbitrator may be impartial, but never neutral. They take sides with one party. Now, that's a very interesting statement, so I need to unpack it. I need to unpack, especially when you could argue that, well, if you say they are not, if you say they are impartial, then you can't say they are neutral. So what do I mean? You know, a judge or an arbitrator does not ask parties what decision he or she should impose on them. The judge and the arbitrator, who is really a private judge, decides for the parties. Number one. Number two, the judge or the arbitrator has to agree with one party. Of course, based on evidence, based on being convinced that that party's position is right. Maybe we shouldn't get into whether or not that party is really right. You know, I'd said in an earlier lecture that when you are in an adversarial dispute resolution scenario or forum, you know, your performance might be key, might be what decides the arbiter, the judge or arbitrator, the way they shift, where they pitch their tent. And you might act very well, perform very well, and because of your good performance, win the hearts and mind of the judge or the arbitrator, and he or she decides for you. Well, that's of course not always the case, but I mean, imagine if a case is very tight, you know, that it could go either way. And the better performer might probably win because it's about win and lose. But the key point I'm making is that in a case, whether at court or at arbitration, the umpire, the judge, or the arbitrator must agree with one side and disagree with the other side. I think that is basic. That's why it's a win-lose situation in court and at arbitration. And that's very important, actually, because I don't know if I mentioned before, people sometimes confuse arbitration with mediation. They're not the same thing. Arbitration is more like the court, where the arbitrator decides just like the judge decides for the parties. I agree with A, I disagree with B. Or I agree with B, I disagree with A. Mediation is not arbitration. In mediation, you cannot, as a mediator, decide for the parties. You cannot say A, you are right, B, you are wrong, or B, you are right, A, you are wrong. You cannot, you don't have that right to do that. You don't have the right to do that. The decision in court is what the parties tell you they want to do. The two parties together, all the parties together, they must come to an agreement. And that's why I said some time ago that in an earlier lecture, I believe that the role of the mediator is more tricky, it's more technical, it's more challenging, if not more difficult, because the mediator has to work with both parties for them to agree with themselves, the parties to agree with themselves, not with the mediator, that this is the decision. This is it's called an agreement. In arbitration, what is the decision is called an award, and in court, of course, the decision is called a judgment. And so that's why I say the judge and arbitrator cannot be neutral, because their job is to decide for one side or the other. That's not, for me, neutrality, but it's something that I guess is debatable. Maybe there's another word we could use that is not on the table now, but that's the way I kind of see it. Now, let's go back to the mediator, because it's about the mediator. So what is the business of the mediator? What is the business of the mediator? The mediator, I'm back in the book reading now. The mediator ensures that the parties leave the mediation process convinced that the issues were properly identified, that they have been listened to and understood, that the process they have gone through was fair, and that the outcome has their voluntary seal and approval. So 4 things. The first business of the mediator is to ensure that the parties leave the mediation process convinced that the issues were properly identified. Why are we in conflict? Yeah. So that must be very clear. The mediator that does that makes it helps the party to clarify and agree and understand the issues at stake. The drivers of the conflict, the unmet needs that is fueling the conflict, that is the root of the conflict. The mediator has the duty and business to ensure that the parties are convinced that those issues came out clearly. That's number one. That's number one business of the mediator. In addition to identification, proper identification of the issues or needs, the parties must be satisfied that they have been listened to. Not only listened to, but understood. Listened to and understood. Listened to and understood. I had some discussion in an earlier lecture, I don't know which one, about this, about the interplay of the ear and the heart. If we have not, we'll discuss this later. It's not just about this skin called ear. So it's not just about giving them air time. It's about they are being understood. So not just the mediator understanding, listening to and understanding the parties, but the parties also understanding one another. That is the business of the mediator. He or she must help each party understand, listen, and understand each other. Third, the mediator's business is to ensure that the parties are convinced that the process they have gone through, his mediation, was fair. Was fair. And it takes me back to the issue of impartiality and neutrality. The party may not be able to question a judge and arbitrator as much as they can question a mediator, I think, because at least at the end of the day, the judge, if I has a duty to say you are a loser or you're a winner, you win the case or you lose the case, you won the case or you lost the case. That's part of the business. Now, if you now see a mediator who is looking like a judge or an arbitrator, if you are now sensing that your mediator is tilting to one side, that's not. You will not have a feeling of that you've gone through a fair dispute resolution process. Which is why I said that the mediator's role is more tasking, more challenging, probably more difficult. You know, and of course, be even more difficult if you don't want to understand that conflict resolution, amicable conflict resolution, is a science. I mentioned that before in an earlier lecture. It's a science, and therefore there's a system to it. A system where you should be able to explain every action that is taken, to be able to explain which part of the process you are in, why you are there. And sometimes you may spend 1 hour on a particular step. We just finished running through the 10 steps that I created. You can spend 1 hour maybe on step 1 for trying to understand their feelings. Whereas in step 9, maybe you spend 2 minutes. So you must be able to explain why you have to spend so much time in one step and so little time in one. So it is a system, you know. Finally, the mediator must convince the parties that the outcome of the mediation has their voluntary seal and approval. Voluntary seal and approval. It's not an imposition like a judge or an arbitrator. I mean, imposition, not in the sense that they are being partial as it were, but in the sense that they have to, it's their duty as judge and arbitrator to decide for one party or the other based on the evidence before, based on the performance of either side. But in mediation, and for the mediator, the outcome cannot be what he thinks or she thinks. It has to be it has to bear clearly the voluntary seal and approval of the parties. So the parties are their own judges, as it were. They are deciding for themselves. And that must be very clear in the whole process. And so to achieve this huge task, the mediator, I'm reading from the book, the mediator must keep his wits about him. I think that is pretty clear, reasonable. The mediator must be on top of his or her game. And that is why I advocate the 10 step an adoption for your mediation, the 10-step approach, so that you are very sure and clear, that you don't misstep or overstep. You take it a step at a time, because that's the reason why step 9 or 5 is where it is, why step 10 acceptance is where it is, where step 1 understanding of feeling is where it is. All the other steps, why step 4 is where it is, and why step 5, setting out questions for determination where it is. So I think that it makes it, which is why I created the 10 steps mediation model. Sorry, with the 10 steps, you are sure that you don't derail. You are truly able to keep your wits about you in a scientific way, not just, I've kept, not just telling yourself, I've kept my wits about me, I'm on top of my game, I know exactly what I'm. No, don't not assume, follow the steps. Like I said, if effective amicable dispute resolution is a science, and therefore there's a process to it, that it is systematic. I think we can stop there for today. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. We'll be very grateful. Remember to apply what you are learning here to conflict in your life and in your business or government, wherever you are situated. That's why we're doing these lectures, is to improve our life, our business, our government, our polity, our society, our families, our relationships. Because one thing that is certain in life is conflict. I sometimes call conflict the biggest industry in the world, And so we must be happy to know how to, and we must desire to know how to resolve conflicts amicably and effectively. Thanks again. If you can, I'm sure you can try at least get a copy of the book. It's available on various outlets of Amazon.com, the UK, .fr, all of them. So I'll see you at the next lecture. That will be lecture 41. Thanks.